Hey guys, this is Red and Blue, and today, why is it taking so long? Dro Fernández transfer to PSG, which was announced as more or less a done deal nearly a week ago, still hasn't been officialized. We're still talking, we're still negotiating. The player is waiting apparently, and so what the hell is going on? Let us go like behind the scenes a little bit. Let me share with you the latest information and answer the hot question, which is, should we start freaking out? So like I said, like nearly a week ago, we learned about Dro Fernandez and the fact that the player was this far from going to PSG. We were told that it was essentially a done deal, that the player and PSG had agreed that he had a release clause of 6 million euro, which is, pocket change basically for Nasser and Luis Campos and PSG. And yet we're like nearly 1 week later and the player is still in Barcelona. We still haven't finalized it. And there's really like no end in sight, I guess, at this point. So the reason for it, let me like backtrack. Like I said, like the player in his contract with Barcelona has got a release clause for 6 million, meaning someone put 6 million on the table, is free to go, and it's a done deal, and Barca cannot do anything about it. In actual terms, what this means is that the player needs to pay for his release. He needs to be the one to I think La Liga office with a check for 6 million euros, drop it on the table, and then he's released for his contract. Should be easy enough, except there's one thing, which is that obviously PSG behind the scene would be paying for this. And so in France, legally, that would be considered an advance on salary. And so PSG would get taxed for it. And because taxes in France are so high, what is a 6 million euro operation is actually de facto a 9.5 million operation, which is still, not a lot of money by PSG standard and something we can afford and easily, but it does make a difference. And so between this and between the fact that Barcelona is trying to make a little bit more money, they've been making noise that they want to get that little bit more money as a sign of goodwill from the player for bringing him up to the top level, but also as a way of keeping a relationship going with PSG, even if it's not a good one. And so we end up in a situation where like Barcelona wants to get a little bit more money, and for us, giving them a little bit more money could actually like end up costing, making us save money. Because like if tomorrow, let's say like we give 9 million euro to Barcelona, obviously it's less than the 9.5 we would have to pay with taxes for the release clause. And two, if we pay a transfer fee, all of a sudden we can amortize that on the lifetime of the contract. So for all of our accounting and balance sheets and so on, instead of having a 9.5 million charge that comes as a block right here, right now in our accounting, you actually take that, divided by probably 5 years is going to be the contract length. And so it's 9 million divided by 5, so a little bit less than 2 million. It's actually 1.8 that gets charged every year. Again, by PSG standard, it's not a huge amount of money, and one way or the other, like we can make it happen. But tiny things make a difference in the end. And we're trying very hard to project the image of a club that's not stupid anymore, that doesn't do silly things with money. And so I guess in that context, it's important for us to try to do the right thing as much as possible. On that. So this is why we're negotiating, and this is why it's still a conversation. On that, Barcelona seems to be dragging their feet a little bit and making sure the conversation takes as long to conclude as they really can without pissing us off too much. So that's why it's taking a bit of time. It's taking a bit longer than expected. They did the exact same thing with Dembele back in the days. So Dembele, we had a very similar conversation, obviously on a bigger scale, because Dembele's release clause was 50 million. But so like in the end, we end up like paying a transfer fee, which was a tiny bit over 50 million. And so it took some time to actually get finalized. And we actually learned that lesson on the Neymar deal. I was reading something about this. So apparently, like with all of the taxes that got added, Neymar's release clause was 222 million euro. That was effectively a 300 million deal, which, you know, if you had like other clauses and so on, it was actually much more than this, but just for like the release clause and the taxes. So that's where we're at. The player and PSG have agreed on the contract. There is an agreement in place. All parties remain optimistic and hope like it will conclude and happen as quickly as possible, I guess. But yeah, it's taking a little bit of time, and I think like in the meantime, the player. So initially, like Barcelona was so pissed at this that they actually like locked him out of their training ground. They went back on this because the other players were saying like, "Come on, like don't be like so mad at him." And you know, he's just doing what he's gonna do. And so they gave him access to the training ground, but Dro Fernández has been training on his own without a coach, at least without a coach from Barcelona for the past week. Not ideal as well. Yeah, it needs to get finalized. It needs to happen. Like enough is enough. And then in terms of the player himself, so throughout the week, we've been learning more about him and kind of going in depth into his profile and what he can do. I think for me, like, you know, I haven't learned a whole lot versus what I told you in that first video that I did on the topic. So go check that one out if you haven't seen it yet. I think the only thing that I would caveat is that I've seen a lot of conversation, and especially after the Sporting Lisbon loss, that kind of like put him on such a high pedestal that it's making me a little bit worried. And I just want to make sure that we all understand that, you know, we're buying a prospect. We're buying an 18-year-old kid who's played like literally in 5 games in Liga. We're not buying Luka Modric. So don't expect him to come in and be a regular starter straight away. In fact, don't expect him to come in and you know, change the face of the team. I think for me, like, he's coming in as probably like, I would say like probably the 6th choice midfielder. So not only behind our starting 3, but also like behind Warren Zaire-Emery and behind Mayulu is where I would position him. And then, like, you know, I would behind obviously like players like Doué and Kangin Lee, but they're playing usually in different places on the field as well. So I'm not really counting them. But yeah, and I think like from what I've heard and learned about the player, I think the steps that he has in front of him and like the increase and improvement that he's gonna have to make initially and as a priority are gonna be physical. Because Ligue 1 is a tremendously physical league, probably more than La Liga at this point, I'll be honest. And, you know, Spanish fan can yell at me in the comment all you want. I think like it's still true. And so for him, he's a player who was, you know, not like struggling a little bit, maybe like at least definitely not top level within the context of La Liga. And so within the context of Ligue 1, there would be an expectation that at the beginning it'd be really difficult for him. And so he's going to need to do a lot of effort to improve his physical level and his physicality in general. We know that he's technical. We know that he's got like the skills, the passing, the dribbling, and so on. We know, like, coming out of Barcelona, he's got the tactical and the game vision and so on. But yeah, like the physicality against like midfield of Ligue 1, you know, going shoulder to shoulder and not flying, like that's going to be critical for him. So that's what we're going to have to see. And, you know, I think, and that's where it ties back to what I was saying earlier, which is like, if you've got like gaps in terms of technicality, you can close them, but still be impactful in the meantime. It's like, if you need to improve like specific parts of your technique, you can do that while leaning on the rest to be impactful when you play. if you're at a disadvantage physically, this literally like this is going to impact your whole game, and this is going to make it impossible for you to compete, or at least very very difficult. And so that's why I'm saying like let's not have him come in with too high expectations, because for me I think it's going to take him some time to get to a physical level where he can actually be like on a competitive level in Liga. And so let's be mindful of this. Let's respect the opponents that we have even in the league. And so let's be careful about what we expect. All of this to say, let's keep an eye out. This is still going to happen for now. Like there's been no noise of player backing down or anything like this. There's still always a risk until like something is signed. But for now, like there's optimism on all sides. We hope it's going to happen as soon as possible. I had hoped very hard that it would happen before Auxerre, because we're going to be missing quite a lot of players today for the Auxerre game. We're missing 7 players, including 5 who would be in our starting 11. And in midfield, we're missing both Joao Neves and Fabian Ruiz. And obviously, we're missing Hakimi. So Warren Zaire-Emery might be playing as right back. So it's going to be a very, very experimental midfield. And so we could have used him there, like even with limited physicality and so on. Like we could have used an extra player, even if just to come on the pitch for the last 15-20 minutes. Doesn't look like it's gonna. I mean, obviously, it's not gonna happen at this point. But yeah, hopefully soon. Hopefully very soon. That'd be nice. So anyway, I'll keep an eye out on this. I'll keep you guys up to date on anything that happens on this one. As soon as things get moving and things get official, I'll jump on the mic and share the update. For now, all fingers crossed. We wait for Dro and we wait for things to happen and things to be signed. Let me know in the comments if you made it this far. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this. Like, are we still feeling good? What's your level of excitement for the player? Like I said, I've seen a lot of people like who were kind of like feeling a little bit over the top to me, if I'm honest. So let me know where you stand on that. And as always, drop a like on the video if you've made it this far. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Hit the bell to get notified. All of those good things. And as always, waiting for Dro, ici c'est pareil!